It's winner take all time in the NBA and NHL, and FanDuel is giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and more. Just visit FanDuel.com/UCSS and make every playoff shot count. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook.
All right, so it was great to hear Nick Chubb and see or if you didn't hear it, just see the comments that he had. I thought he had some really interesting comments. You rarely get much of note from Nick Chubb because he's not much of a talker, at least to the media. I mean, he's not rude or anything. He's just not, at least publicly, that outgoing of a guy. I don't know how you were with the Browns for a little bit, Tyvis. Did you get to interact with Nick Chubb much?
So I didn't get a chance to interact with Nick Chubb, but I have interacted with players who have interacted with Nick Chubb.
What do they say?
And they say in the locker room he's actually a very funny guy in the locker room. Yeah, and they say it's ping pong or something they play in that locker room. Yeah. He runs the table. He is the man in that locker room on that. So apparently to the media, he might be kind of standoffish.
I don't think he's standoffish.
Well, quiet. He comes off as quiet.
Yeah, I don't want it to have a negative connotation.
Yeah, he comes off as quiet, but in the locker room, they say he's very relaxing. Yeah. Actually, he's a pretty funny guy, actually.
Okay, that's good to hear. Jason, you interact at least somewhat with him in the locker room, don't you?
Yeah, and I don't think he wants much to do with us, which is fine.
Right.
I don't
but not
care.
in a rude way.
He's
not a jerk
It's
about
not important to him, and that's fine.
Yeah.
That's when I don't care.
Yeah.
I kind of respect it because talking to us doesn't help him get better, and he's one of those guys always focused on is winning and getting better. So
as a player, Jason, I enjoy talking with every reporter.
Tyvis was always popular amongst the media.
I could see that.
Let's
which
talk,
is why
let's
you're
talk
in the
about
media.
it. I'm not in the media.
That's what Zach Meisel told me, that when he covered Tyvis one year in college, he would always go to Tyvis.
Come on, let's talk about
it. And you, as a reporter, it's easy to pick up on that. You know the guys who like to talk and like to have conversations, and you know the guys who want to be left alone, and you respect both sides. You want to talk. We'll talk about the game last night. We'll talk about where you went to college. Guys love talking about their college team, especially in season or what's going on with where they went to school or something. Yeah. And you can sit there and talk to them for 15 minutes about that, or the house they're building, or hunting, or golf, or whatever it is. And then there's other guys who they're
not interested.
They're just not. You're not important to them, and that's fine. You talk to them when you have to. Yeah. You get what you need to when you have to.
Right.
And then you cut out the BS and you just you leave them alone.
And Nick Chubb Nick Chubb never does anything controversial, never does anything negative. There's never a reason that you have to talk to him for that reason.
Right.
So he just, he'll answer your questions, but
I just think that in today's society, it's better to be more open to it and talk.
Sure.
Because it's just so much that comes with it as far as endorsements and all those things.
I mean, if you, I probably should admit this, but it's pretty obvious. If you're nice to the media will be nice to you. If you're not nice to the media, a lot of times they take it out on you. And it shouldn't be that way.
Yeah, no.
But it is. Or you could be so good like Nick Chubb that it doesn't matter.
Right, it doesn't matter. It's not, and again, I don't look at Nick Chubb as he's not nice to the media.
Correct.
He's just neutral.
He's neutral.
It's
you could a lot of times guys have their specific days that they talk, and I think Nick is. I think he's a Thursday guy. I don't remember. It doesn't matter. So he talks on Thursdays, and there's a lot of other guys like Joel Battone. You can talk Joel anytime.
Anytime
you go up and talk to Wyatt. Go talk to Wyatt anytime. Yeah. But with Nick, if you go up to Nick on Monday. We're not in there on Monday.
Yeah.
You go up to him on Wednesday, he'll probably tell you, I talk on Thursdays.
Yeah.
And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
I got no.
It's just everybody has their own way of handling things, of doing things.
So it was interesting to hear him talk, and he said something that really surprised me. I think it was the first time ever in a good way. And do we have that clip, Mike?
When he talked about Cleveland?
Yeah, and he talked about with the Browns,
Yeah, I just took it from Ian Rappaport, who transcribed the quote. I hope this is exactly what we're talking about, Steve, but take tag board full. He was talking about after he got hurt, quote, the Browns could have just cut me dry, left me hanging, right, but they did a great job. I want to be here in Cleveland. They know that, so he came to a great point. He went on to talk about he's not practicing yet. He's not rushing himself into practice, but when he feels ready and the team feels ready, he'll get back in the field. I hope that's what you're referring to, Cole.
That is what I was referring to. The reason I was a little surprised, I guess, is because I hadn't really thought of it that way. I think most people, and again, most people think, well, or some people would think, well, the Browns kind of screwed him over a little bit by cutting his salary. And he doesn't look at it that way at all. And maybe he's just saying that publicly. I don't know how maybe he feels differently behind the scenes.
No,
but I don't think he would have said it that way.
No, I think he comes off as a pretty genuine guy.
Yeah.
And I think that we talked about that.
Yeah.
Me and Jason talked about it. Like, really, it's how cutthroat the Browns really want to get. You know, because they could just say, we ain't paying you nothing, and nobody else is going to pay you nothing anyways because you injured.
Right.
So,
take it or leave it. Here's our offer.
That could have been, but it does seem like out of respect that they have for Nick Chubb, that they like, we can't give you the whole thing, and I think you understand why we can't give you the whole thing. So what we going to do is we're going to at least give you way more than somebody else will, and can you at least accept that? And he probably is a reasonable guy and was like, you know what? Put my incentives in there. Yeah, we can do that.
And that's where I think the Browns did right by him, because they've given him basically the opportunity to earn most, if not all of it back.
Right. Yeah.
It's just an incentive-laden deal now, whereas a lot of teams, I think, would have gone the route that we talked about of, I don't know, man, $5 million, take it or leave it, coming off your injury.
I think there's two interesting things here. Yes, you guys are right. A lot of teams would have said, see ya, who cares?
Especially running back today?
Yeah. I also think there are a lot of players that, even though what you guys are saying makes sense rationally, I still think there's a lot of players that would have taken it as an insult or a slight. But neither of those things happened here. Nick Chubb didn't take it or appears not to have taken it as a slight at all, which is I think the right call, but I don't know that all players would have thought of it that way. And to your point about the teams, it shows you that the Browns know what we've said a lot, that Nick Chubb is more meaningful to them and to this franchise than the typical running back.
I agree with that statement. Obviously, he does. It's impossible for you to be like, yeah, we're going to cut your salary $10 million and you're going to be okay with it. Like, no, nobody's going to be happy about that. But like I say, I think the part where he got at ease is the incentives part, where he was where he was like, they was like, you know what, we'll even give you a chance to make it back. And I think that's when he was like, you know what, this organization really does care about me. They really do want to see me succeed and make money. So that was nice from there. And I think that's why at the end of the day, he's at peace with the decision. Because, listen, he's glorified in Cleveland. Even if he doesn't take another snap in Cleveland, he'll be a legend in Cleveland for the rest of his life. And this is probably where he wants to be. So it's hard to go to another place. Nobody else is going to view him the same way Cleveland fans view him. If he left here and went to Atlanta, well, maybe not Atlanta because he's from Georgia. If he went to Buffalo, like they're going to, all right.
No, but you're right. Not only would he not be there as long, but he's probably, he might not be the same player anymore. We don't know until we see him on the field. So nobody cares what you did at other stops.
Exactly.
Once you're on my team. I don't care that you were great on Team A. You're on Team B now. You got to be great here or I don't care about you. Mm-hmm. So you're right. I don't know. And I think of all the players on the Browns, Nick Chubb, more than any other player to me, is the guy I could least take seeing in another uniform. Even more than Myles Garrett, Joel Bitonio, anybody else. The thought of Nick Chubb wearing another uniform is horrifying to me.
It would hurt. However, given the conditions that he's in right now, if it was Myles, I'd be.
I understand. Myles Garrett clearly is a better player right now. I didn't mean it from that perspective.
Yeah.
I don't mean it like right now this year.
Sentimental reasons.
For sentimental
reasons, I understand what you're saying. I thought you were saying competitive reasons. I was going to say.
No, not for competitive reasons.
Well, speaking of seeing Nick Chubb in a jersey, that brings us to the actual question here.
Yeah.
We heard Nick talk about he's not practicing yet. He's ramping up to get able to practice. Do you think we'll see him in a Browns uniform for Week 1? Has that changed after hearing him talk yesterday? Your thoughts on whether or not he'll be available?
I mean, the fact that he's not practicing, I guess my first thought was, well, no, he's not going to be ready for Week 1. And then I'm thinking about it again, and I'm saying, well, we're still little over 3 months from the start of the regular season. Nick Chubb does not need to practice. He does not need – correct me if you think I'm wrong, Tyvis. I don't think he needs to practice. I don't think he needs to play in the preseason.
He ain't doing that, no way.
I think in theory, if he's able to practice a little a couple of weeks before the season, then he's good to. If he feels like he's good to go, yeah, I think it's possible he can play Week 1.
I think that the thing when you talk about an injury at this standpoint, the number one thing for me is his mindset. They can tell him you're 100% clear, but he still might not be the same. And until he feels that contact, till he gets out there and he practices with the team and and be able to do cuts and stuff like that, he'll truly know when he's ready.
Yeah.
And I think it might take a while. I know how dedicated he is. I know how if anybody can bounce back from this injury, it could be Nick Chubb. But when you just give all of the things that went into that injury, I just think it's going to take a while. And the fact that he's not practicing now, I think he's just starting to run, correct? I think he's just now running.
There's video of him running on tracks.
Yeah.
So, like, I just think it's going to take a while. And that cutting part of it, like, what made Nick Chubb is making guys miss, being able to cut, and being able to get vertical right now. I just don't think he's going to be there. And if he's not going to be that person out the gate, or if it's going to take him a while, I think they don't need to rush him back out there. He don't need to rush back out there, and the team won't need to rush him back out there.
Jason, I don't think they'll rush him, but I wonder, like, would they consider? Let's say they feel like he's ready for week 1, but not a full workload. Do you bring him back for 4-6 carries in the first couple of games? You just say, what's the point? Let's wait till week 5.
I think I think in his mind, he probably feels like he'll be ready before week 5.
Yeah.
Now, as the team, is it your responsibility to pull him back, even if he thinks he is ready sooner?
Right. Protect the player from himself.
Protect the player from himself. That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
I think that there's some truth to that in this. So I'm not ready to say for sure he's going to start the year on the PUP list. I think in his mind, he probably feels like he'll be ready before then. And we'll just have to – I mean, it's June.
Yeah,
so we'll have to wait and see as we get closer here. I mean, Tyvis knows better than anybody, and I think you're 100% right in the cuts. Like, it's one thing to run on a track and to feel good, but the first time you take a hit on the knee or the first time you have to put your foot in the ground, it's a little bit different. So we'll see, but I don't think it's I mean, if I had to put money on it, I don't know that I'd expect to see him out there for week 1, but I don't think it's impossible.
Remember, Boobie Miles got back on the field. Boobie Miles thought he could make the cuts the first chance he had.
And they should have pulled him out after the first play. He tried to cut, and he couldn't do it.
That's true.